Hi there Wargamers, it's the DanBringa here with a basing tutorial for you for Star Wars Legion on how I do my bases. So primarily they are DAS and some flocks and very limited painting on there, so mostly it's the actual flocks and basing materials doing the work, and obviously there's uneven raised bases there for them to make them a bit more realistic, probably, because natural ground doesn't tend to be flat. So we've got a whole host of things here in front of me. Obviously we've got all the bases. I tend to do a big batch at once. I've got a lot more than this to do, but obviously I've only got so many things to hold them. Anyway, that's by and by. So what we need, we've got the bases, we've got some air drying clay, any brand will do, got a primer for the actual main colour of the bases, got some paints to paint the stones because they tend to, in my experience, stand out a bit too much if they're not painted. I just like it, you don't have to, but anyway, that's another black paint for the edges and doing the flight stands for the speed bikes, some small stones, some dirt and tile grout mix. This is I think about 60-40 mix, so more grout than dirt, but I'll link a video on a good way of making that stuff. It's very simple. And then there's 3 tones of 2-in-1 flocks from Geek Gaming. So we've got mid-green, dark green and bright green on. We'll go about that as we come to it. And one thing, a sieve. So I'm going to go clear my workspace up into a more manageable fashion, about 6 or 7, to show you how to do it. And I'll be back in a second when that's ready to go. Right guys, the first step is putting some stones on. I've got a nice selection of stones to one side here. And limited myself to 5 bases, so I'm just going to put some super glue accelerator on there. There we go, give it a chance to evaporate a bit. And then we're just going to haphazardly glue a couple of stones on there. So I've got some gel super glue and some random stones. So just pick out some stones. There we go, that one will be a nice one. So we're just going to stick a few stones on there. Nothing too precise, they're just trying to remember that most spaces you've got to need space for the feet either side. Well, while it is possible to drill into these stones to mount the models later, it's a lot easier if you mount into the actual clay or the base. So I'm just going to put 1, 2 or 3 stones on each base. Just in random places. There we go. I mean, these stones are just from a pet shop for a fish tank, I think. I mean, they are actually multicoloured, but I just managed to pick out the white ones so far. There we go. So prove that they're multicoloured. There we go, that'll do. So we've got nothing too complicated so far, just some stones stuck onto a base with some super glue. And now give them a few moments to set properly, and then we're going to come back and we're going to stick some air drying clay on in and around those stones to blend them into the bases. So just look like they've been placed there. So we're back in a bit. Right guys, after all that glue is nicely dried and the stones are nicely set in place for at least getting knocked off quite so easily, it's time to get some air dry clay on there, and obviously you can tell I've been at this for a while now. These are the last 5. So it's nothing complicated here, so we'll just have a bit more of a zoom. There we go. Get these out of the way for now, and it's just a matter of blending it around the stones. I've got some water off the side of the camera, which I'm just going to help it stick. This air drying clay has a tendency not to want to stick to things unless you put a bit of moisture in it. So there we go. So just like that. A little bit rough and red at the moment, but we'll just get a bit of water on my finger and smooth it around. Doesn't have to be too perfect, but I like to keep the stones as exposed as possible while keeping the having the clay round them entirely, so it looks like they're actually set into the ground. So at the moment we're just getting a rough shape with this stuff. So there we go. Let's get rid of the edge of the base while it's wet. Don't really matter because I'll clean them up eventually. So that one's pretty much done. And I'll do a few more now. So I might speed this bit up, but see how it goes and how long it takes. So pretty much rinse and repeat really, to be honest. Go around with dry clay and wet finger, blend it in. And if you get like the bits here, might be worthwhile get yourself a little tool with a bit of water on. Probably can get away with a cocktail stick or something like that if you haven't got one of those. And that'll do. Don't have to be perfect because we're going to be putting basic materials over these anyway. Right, another one. I mean, you can put as much of this stuff on or as little as you want. I mean, sometimes I like to build up a bit more. There we go. Build a bit of a mound up. Just blend it all together. I mean, it don't have to be perfect because like I say, we're putting stuff over it anyway. There we go. Nice bit of a raised one there. And again, rinse and repeat. Yeah, it's unfortunately we've got white on white here, so get a bit more water. I mean, sometimes you get too much water, it'll just slop off, but it's not the end of the world. Just put it back on. There we go, that'll do. Get rid of that bit on the edge of the base. And the last one. Yeah, so done about 50 base in this batch. I think there's 47 of these round ones, one of the large tank ones. There we go, that's what happens when it slops off a bit. I mean, there we go, we just expose that stone a bit more. And try and keep the edge defined, because I don't like the base and stuff to go over the edge of the base. Tends to look a bit messy. There we go. That'll do. I mean, if you cover too much of the stone up, you could just scrape it off like that. Yeah, but just tie that up there between those two. Nope. There we go. Give a bit of water there. I think we're done. Right then. So that's the last 5 of my bases done. I need to leave these for quite some time now, and we'll come back once it's all dry and slap some primer on it. Alright guys, for you it's going to be very quick, but for me probably leave it a couple of days just on the safe side with this air drying clay. I mean, probably do 24 hours is probably fine, but a bit more time won't harm. Okay guys, back in a second for you guys. Right guys, the DAS is dried. It's nice and solid. I'm just going to go ahead and prime the model. It's a model, I suppose. With this Star Wars ebony flesh. So I'm not going to make me watch me do that, but so I'm just going to go away and prime that back and tick. Right guys, as you can see, the base has been primed nicely in that brown. It's ebony flesh from Star Wars. Now I'm just going to pick out the stones in a base colour. This is a German Panzer Grey, just to base them off, and then we're going to do a bit of dry brushing and see where we go from there. So there we go. Not need to be too careful because a lot of it's going to get covered by the ground covering and blended into base. So there we go. So I'm going to do that on the rest of the bases, so you don't need to watch me doing that. So I'm just going to paint stones, so those two, and then there we go. I'm going to let that dry, and while I'm doing that, I've got 50 or so bases up to do this on, so I'm going to crack on with that, and we'll be back when I'm about to start dry brushing. Right guys, after the charcoal type black, the German Panzer Grey is finished, we're going to get a bit of dry brush of Eschen Grey. It's going to be reasonably heavy, just to get those stones. Barely going to be noticeable at the moment, but it's going to build up. There we go. I'm not too concerned about getting it on the brown areas, as that's going to be covered by the ground cover. There we go. Nice and messy, this one. Covering most of the stones. It's about that much. Let that dry, and then we'll come back with another dry brush of a lighter grey. Right. I'm going to paint another 50 or so bases, and I'm back in a tick. Right, as we carry on, we've got a bit of dawnstone now, more dry brushing again. This time a little bit less than before, a bit lighter, so here goes. So just picking out those raised bits. There we go. That'll do. Some more. There we go. And again, back to the rest of the other 50, and I'll be back in a sec for the next colour. Right, next on the list of dry brushing colours is Celestial Grey. and again a little bit less than before, so there we go, that'll do. So just get those topmost areas. Yep. Right, that's the that bit done. Give that a second to dry properly, and we'll be on to a wash of aggregate surfshade. Right, guys. After that's dried, we're going to apply a wash of aggregate surfshade over the stones, and then we'll carry on. Oops, excuse me, I was knocking the camera, that's good, isn't it? Yeah, nice and generous here. There we go. Nothing too complicated here, and again, not overly concerned if we get some on the brown. And there we go. Gonna let that dry, and we're going to come back with one final dry brush. Right, after all that wash has dried nicely, we're going to apply a last dry brush of ceramite white to the rocks, and that's will be the painting done with. So very light dry brush, just getting those uppermost areas. There we go. Yeah, that'll do. Just to make it pop a little more than it already does. There we go. Yeah, that'll do. Get a little paint off that brush. There we go. There we go, and again, not worried too much about the paint getting on the brown area, because it'll all blend in with the ground cover. There we go, just a bit going that way. There we go. There we go. Right, that's the painting done with, if you don't count the painting the edge of the bases. Now it's on to putting the ground cover on, obviously want it to give it a bit of time to dry properly. And then we'll be on to some flock. Right guys, once that's dried nicely, it's time to put some of that ground cover I've been speaking about so much about in the painting bits. So it's basically just it's tile grout and dirt that's been cooked basically. There's a video on Luke APS channel, or Geek Gamer whatever he calls it nowadays, on how to make this stuff. It's just simple, it's not complex. Anyway, on to what we're doing. So we're just going to paint around the stones with some glue and then chuck some of that ground cover mix on. So don't really need to, so I'll probably speed this up so you can. spray them. There we go. This bit's extremely complex. Just shake it over. Now, so if you've got ones that like a bit like this one, just tip it a bit and shake it on the side. I think that's the only one out of that lot. Yep, so I'm gonna leave that for a few minutes and we'll be back in a second with the next stage once we've tidied away the excess. Right guys, I've as you can see, been rather busy. Got the PVA glue and all on the tile grout and dirt applied. It's been a few minutes. Obviously, it's taken me quite a while to do all these bases. So now I'm going to spray it with some isopropanol 99% and water. It's mixed about 50-50 ratio, and then we're going to hit it with some watered down PVA. I think that's about a quarter or so to a 1 in 4 to water PVA. So very simple. It needs a bit of a spray of the ISO and water mix. Yeah. There we go. That'll do. There's one little bit there. Go on. And then we're going to give it a spray of the water down PVA. Now my spray bottle is very crap, so you have to excuse me when I seem to spray to the side I'm not looking at. There we go. But probably overdoing it, but never mind, it'll all dry eventually. Anyways, there'll be many PVA spray that goes on these bases before we're done anyway. There we go, that'll do I think. There we go. Right, we'll leave that overnight to dry and possibly a bit longer. And then we're back when it's all ready to go for the flocking. Right guys, after that's all dried rather nicely, it's looking rather nice, or rather a bit barren, but we'll get to a bit more on that in a second. So now we're going to start adding some flocks. I've got 3 colours, so I've got a mid, a light, and obviously, you probably guessed it, a dark one. These are all foam flocks, so they're going to draw the glue in a lot better. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go around all these bases and apply some patches of PVA glue. Just neat this lot, so you can't even see that on that white, but never mind. So I'm not going to make you watch that, so I'm just going to paint it on in a few patches and then back in a tick. Right guys, as you can see, I've painted PVA on, well, I'd say 90% of the bases, and now it's just a case of getting some of this mid-green and scattering it over the bases, so nothing too complicated. The easiest bit to do is over here. Just scatter it over where the glue. There's no minions here. Where the glue is, and we, as it's the first layer, we'll be able to recover some of this. Obviously, we're not going to cover all of the base that we've just applied. Let's zoom on this bit so you can see what I'm doing. basically just getting some clumps over it. Right, after we've gone through all that and done a bit of tidy up, we're going to spray it all with the ISO mix and then some watered down PVA like before. So, very simple. Don't need to go too heavy with this. This is mainly to help the watered down PVA seep into it. So, just a quick spray. I'm going to grab the sieve now and the same green as we just put on. So I'll check what we've got left in there. I'm going to sieve some over on the bases now. So to help blend the big clumps into the small. There we go. Just don't mind me while I do the other ones that are on my table. And then we'll give it another quick blast of ISO. Bit more glue. Right, and then we're going to go scatter on some really some dark green, nice and selective now. So we'll try and be selective. Obviously, it's not all going to stay on, but yeah, we're trying to pinch it between the fingers. Then once we've done that again, we're going to give it another blast of the ISO mix. Probably dislodge it all as well. And then, as you guessed it, more glue. To seal it on, well, or rather, well, yeah, sealing it on as well. Then lastly, we get some of the bright green and do a little kind of a highlight through sieve again. So, don't need a right lot for this. So. There's a bridge to get between the dark and the mid. Just push it through. Right, then lastly, again, one final blast of nice propanol and water mix, and one final blast of the water down glue PVA. There we go. I'm going to leave that overnight again to dry, and then I'll be back for you guys in a bit to see what it looks like when it's all dry. See you soon. Right, as you can see, they've dried out nicely. I actually ended up doing a couple more coats of PVA over them because it isn't quite hardened enough for my liking. Obviously your mileage may vary, depends how thin your PVA is. So as you can see, they're looking nice and green and rocky and dirty at the time. All that's left now is to go around the bases and take them off to the paint pots and clean up the edges where any little bits of like any bits of grout or flock have got stuck to the sides. Don't have to do this if you don't want to. You might just paint over it, and I've done. I'm a stickler for that kind of thing. I like a nice smooth base edge, so I'm going to go around with a knife and tidy these up, and then we're going to go then move back to paint the edge your colour of choice. Mine's going to be black, so but yours may be different. Right, back in a second when I've scraped all these bases. Right guys, I've scraped all my bases and painted all the sides black. As you can see now, they're looking nice and finished. It's a nice matte black there. Looking nice, ready for a certain mini to go on there. As you can see, there's not a great deal of brown there, but it's all the flock doing all the work. So they're nice and varied, because obviously it's all pretty much random with how it's sprinkled on. So there we go, nice base ready. Some big ones here. More stones on, nice and green, ready for those models. All I've got to do now is paint them. So that's enough procrastinating from me. It's time to start playing some more clones, I think. I hate painting the bodysuits. Anyway guys, I'm going to drop a few still pictures afterwards so you can actually get a better look at the bases rather than my poor camera work. So thanks for watching guys. If it's just, hit the like button if you could, that'd be great, and drop us a comment below if you found this helpful or as an entertaining video for you. Thank you guys, and speak to you all later. Bye bye now.